SportsOnTapPodcast.com, the place to go where you can listen to past shows, read featured articles, check out all of our social media updates, plus much, much more. SportsOnTapPodcast.com, the official website of Sports on Tap.
For up-to-the-minute info on local high school sports action, including photos, videos, and live updates, be sure to follow Sports on Tap on Twitter, Instagram, and like us on Facebook.
Why do you exercise? To look better? To feel better? To drop a few pounds? To train for an event? To defy age? Or to keep your ability to say yes to the things you love to do? Whatever motivates you, G&G Fitness Equipment is here to get you there. Treadmills, ellipticals, rowers, bikes, home gyms, and accessories. We'll pair you with the right equipment, teach you how to use it, and be there every step of your fitness journey. G&G Fitness. Your goal is our goal.
And welcome back to Sports on Tap. Ed Dick here with Josh Jeffy, Rob Troutman. Sean Duffy is on assignment. It's been a while since I've been in the studio. So
yeah, you're coming back and you're like leading the pack
I know,
here.
man. They're like, yeah, you got this next segment, right? Yeah, sure, why not?
And since that's your first time in a while since you've introed it.
Yeah.
And it was pretty flawless, Ed.
Yeah,
I don't think you had time to think about it. You just kind of went with it.
At this point, you shouldn't. You can't think about it. He's got to go.
Yeah.
You just got to go.
Exactly.
Well,
so make sure you.
So while Ed's gathering himself after that great introduction, we'd like to remind you to check out our website, sportsontappodcast.com, where you can get all of our past shows up on there, articles about awesome high school coverage that we have going on, all of our interviews, which we'll have this one. We're coming up here. We'll be on our website as well, as well as pictures and everything from local high school events. Follow us on Twitter at SOT Podcast. Like us on Facebook and Instagram. Anywhere there's social media platforms, we're there. Anywhere podcasts are available, we're almost there. Right now, it's Mixlr, it's YouTube, and it's iTunes. So
that's right.
I feel like I should give Ed a little bit of a break because he's coming back. You know, he can't go 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
He did it. He did it well. Now he needs a break. He's caught up. Ed, take it away, my friend.
It's also best to let the people who do the most social media talk about the social media. I am still Twitterless Ed and Instagramless Ed and any other thing besides Facebook.
Yeah, you're better off.
Which I was begrudgingly created back in college. Anyways, so we will. We have a tremendous guest on right now. Definite friend of Stowe status. I think he's. I don't know if he's part of. I think he's close to being part of the old SNL Five Timers Club. He's got to be up there
Easily, yeah.
So man who needs no introduction in the ladies soccer world yet. I'm going to do one anyways. He just completed his first year as the head soccer coach for the Medina Battling Bees, and he was named the Medina County Gazette Coach of the Year for the fall season. Tremendous honor there. Head coach Brad Wojnarowsky joins us on the show. Coach, sorry. I've known Brad for quite a while, so it's tough to not call him that. But, Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Good to hear from you guys.
Always.
Yeah, always good to hear from you. And congratulations, Coach. Your first season, and what a success it was.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun this year, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. Definitely had its challenges, but we had a great time, and where it ended up was beyond our expectations, to say the least.
Tremendous season. The final results were 17-3-2. A couple of ties to some very tough teams, and then you guys were able. The two biggest rivals during at least the course of the year had a couple setbacks there, but you're able to rectify one of those in the playoffs with a 3-0 victory over Brunswick in the district finals. So if you don't, let's go through the season. Starting from the beginning and kind of work. Kind of give us an idea of where you guys started and kind of how you guys ended up over the course of the year. Maybe touching on how the team evolved over the course of the year, who stepped up as leaders, so on and so forth.
Yeah, it wasn't as challenging as I guess for somebody that maybe would have come in and didn't know the kids. So but it still was challenging in the fact that we were, trying to definitely make sure the kids knew that it was different this year. It wasn't, that I was the head coach and there would be some things that would be different than in the past. So it was a little bit, got off to a little bit of a slow start. We still were winning, but we weren't playing well. We were moving kids around and trying to get used to some ideas. But it was coming together. And then we lost our top player, Haley Anspaugh, after I think the third game of the year. She at that point had already scored 5 goals, and we lost her with an appendectomy for, I think it ended up being 7 games she actually missed, which obviously is tough to handle. Especially for as young as we were. We were already young with quite a few freshmen, but now all of a sudden we're forced to change the way we play, and have a bunch of 13 and 14-year-old kids try to figure out how to play the varsity level. It was to a point where we actually were playing with 6 freshmen on the field at one time during the middle portion of the season. But those girls, they really pulled together. They started to play very, very well. I think we actually tied Walsh in that little bit of time. We didn't have Haley. She did come back for the Brunswick game, but wasn't healthy, and that was a loss there. We lost against Strongsville, 1-0. And then it was about that time where Haley actually started to get healthy. And right at the end of the regular season, we started to piece things together. And then once the playoffs hit, it was almost like Haley flipped a switch, and she had a postseason of legend. She put the team on her back. I think she scored every goal for us in the regional tournament. She was just amazing when we got to that point. So it was a fun year to see the kids develop and really come together and have confidence in each other. It was a lot of fun.
And Haley Anspaugh scored. According to the website I'm looking at, which I believe is a quite reputable website, she had 42 points on the year, 18 goals, 6 assists. Regardless if those numbers are accurate or if I'm understating them, I apologize. But that just speaks to how special of a player she was for your team this year. And her coming back, for the end of the regular season and getting her win, maybe building her stamina and building her way back up, hitting right in time for the playoffs. I mean, that just you couldn't ask for a better return outside of her being there the entire season.
Yeah, and she really grew into the leadership role this year. She was, maybe a little bit on the immature side, going back even to January. But over the course of the last, 10, 11, 12 months, the kid has really matured. She was a true leader, and everybody just followed where she was going. And I give her a lot of credit because a lot of kids that can't handle that type of pressure. We did have, I think we started 3 seniors. So they were kind of outnumbered this year with the underclassmen. But they really bought into what Haley was doing, and Haley bought into what I was doing and the message I was selling. So it all just came together, like one would hope it would.
Talk a little bit about, going from an assistant coach to the head coach of a pretty successful program. What was it like for you? Was there a big difference between being an assistant coach at Medina to going to head coach? What was the difference from that? Was it a pretty big jump for you, or were you pretty comfortable because you've kind of seen and been an assistant coach obviously for a long time? You've been around the game of soccer for a long time. Was it a pretty easy transition for you this year?
I don't know. I really feel for me it was. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I think the biggest adjustment was for the kids and maybe some of the parents, because as the assistant coach, man, you're a good cop. Everybody likes the assistant coach, and because the assistant coach at the end of the day doesn't make all the decisions. So I think that was a little bit of an adjustment for everybody, that I had to make some pretty difficult decisions, and, maybe they didn't sit well with some people. This was the first year, in the 12 years I've been here, that we actually cut kids. So there was a little bit of an adjustment period outside of things. And then just the general way that I did things this year. We changed formations quite often. There was quite a bit of accountability for kids. The starting lineup would change nightly, all things that everybody wanted. And even though they wanted them, and it was still a bit of an adjustment once they got what they wanted, if that makes sense. Because, if a kid was a starter, they were a starter, but this year it didn't work that way. You had to kind of earn your spot every week at practice. And, so that was a little bit of an issue for people throughout the year, getting used to that.
We're with Medina Battling Bees, ladies head soccer coach Brad Wojnarowsky here. Coach, you mentioned, and I read, and you mentioned that you played various formations over the course of the season. Were those in direct response to the teams you were playing, or was it more of, this is what we want to try, so we have this in our arsenal come playoff time, and you could kind of just experiment that way, or was it a little bit of both?
It was a little bit of both. Mainly being, again, I hate saying that we were young, but we were. There were games where we were physically outmatched. So as opposed to, at times I would change, where kids played, who started, but there were a number of times where we would change our formation based on what the other team was going to bring to us. That was a huge adjustment for the kids because, girls in general, they don't really like change. They don't really change a lot of things on the clubs that they play for. So asking them to do that early on was a little bit rough, but they really started to get into it. They've started to buy into it. As we had our exit meetings this year, I would say 90% of them felt that they were better players because they now, even more marketable to a college because they were comfortable playing different positions and different formations tactically. But I think that was a big reason why our season ended up where it did, because we were so comfortable and able to adjust at any point, during a game, to the halftime adjustment from game to game. So we were able to give everybody a different look if we wanted to, which was huge.
So in looking at in reviewing your guys' schedule, you guys, the ladies played Brunswick, Massillon Jackson, and Walsh Jesuit twice over the course of the year. And in looking at those, the regular season saw 2 ties and a loss there, and the playoffs you swept them. So what was the biggest difference between? And if I'm not mistaken, and I know you're missing Haley for the Walsh game, she was back for Brunswick, not 100%. Maslin, she was probably starting to round into her own. Was she the biggest difference come those playoff games, or what were some other factors that allowed you guys to that allowed the team to not only get past these teams, but in the Brunswick and Maslin Jackson, those were decisive victories. Especially in the soccer world, 3-0's a pretty decisive victory there.
Right. Obviously Haley was a huge part of all of that. I think she, the kids though played with more confidence when they had her around. And again, that youth, the young, the freshmen, the sophomores, they were good players. I mean, obviously, or they wouldn't be on varsity.
Right.
But they also came to another level knowing they had a healthy Haley Anspaugh out there with them. And, sometimes those kids, a Riley Kerber, for example, she's one of our kids that's headed to Boston College. She's only a sophomore this last year.
Wow.
Her postseason was absolutely phenomenal. And I think that was from just having the confidence and knowing Haley was up there and Haley could handle the offense and she could set back in the midfield and handle, just defending a little bit. So that was the biggest thing of it with Haley coming back, was just the confidence that everybody else had in themselves. And I don't think they really realized it, that they were just, wow, we are this good. And it steamrolled. I mean, really in the Final Four game, I feel we were the better team. We left a lot of chances on the field. Maybe that particular night, the lights were a little too bright for us. But I really feel like we were a little bit unfortunate that night. And it's crazy to think that our first year with all of our inexperience, we could have won a state championship this year. I mean, we were that close. So that part of it's really frustrating, but
Coach,
we live and learn.
Yep.
And Coach is referring to a 1-0 loss to White House Anthony Wayne in the state semifinals. And then they went on to they ended up losing to Lakota West. In a very competitive matchup. And to your point, I mean, in reading the tremendous coverage that was the Medina County Gazette did all year for not only for the football teams but obviously for the soccer teams as well. That it's exactly what you said. I mean, the ladies had some shots, and and as we all know, sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't, and sometimes the best team doesn't always win, and so I have to going into next season, with your having that many freshmen at one time play. You mentioned up to 6 freshmen played on the field at one time for a premier, one of the premier programs in the state of Ohio, and a good mix of sophomores in there as well. I mean, where's the limit here? I mean, it seems like you guys have limitless potential going into the future seasons.
Obviously we're excited. The expectations at Medina are always sky high. I mean, our goal every year, like this year we never talked about it, and that'll kind of continue to be the way we go the rest of over the next few years. We just don't talk about the state final. This year we didn't mention it until that Anthony Wayne game in the Final Four. That was the first time we had really mentioned Crew Stadium. We just kind of pushed that to the back burner and let's just go play, man. We're playing for a couple more days together, right? And the kids bought into that. So that's going to continue to be the way we operate. Expectations will be high next year. I don't like I've told other people, every year is different. Every team is different. All the teams we're going to play next year are different. And just because we have all these kids coming back, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be great, or our kids going to be motivated next year. But how our injury is going to affect us next year as opposed to this year. On paper, yeah. I'm excited for next year. Obviously now we have a target on our back. How are we going to play with that? We have an exciting freshman class coming in this year. I think a couple of those kids could potentially help us right away. With the experience that we bring back. We have a 7th grade class that's loaded. So we're kind of entering our window again where, potentially winning a state championship is there, but it is so dang hard to do that. And really any of the high school sports, football, what do you got to win now to win a state championship? 4 or 5 games. Soccer, basketball, you got to win 7 or 8. It's not an easy thing to do, but yeah, we're kind of entering a window where the opportunity's there for us.
Hey, Brad. You've been an assistant for quite a while at Medina, but this is actually the first year you're going into an off season as the head coach. And when you're the head coach, you're also dealing with the youth program, and we've talked about it before with you. Medina youth program for soccer is huge, and it's very good. So talk about the adjustments for you, if any, of how you're doing things now going into the off season with your team and with the youth program.
We started our development program again. That was something we had gotten away from for a few years, just mainly time. My focus had changed to coaching club soccer. But obviously with being the head coach, you need to focus more on your immediate youth players and not your youth players in their club environments. So we started that back up again in September, and we're working with our 7th and 8th grade kids. I think we have 42 kids signed up right now. We just train every other week, getting to know the kids, let them get comfortable with my coaching staff. The high school girls, with the transition last year, there wasn't much of an off-season program, just because nobody really had a position, nobody really had a job, so we were just kind of in limbo last winter. But we start weight training in January. Kids will be there before school at 6 a.m. to lift their weights, and we're also starting some. The state calls it small group training. We'll do that every day after school. We're allowed to work with the kids, 4 kids at a time. And so we'll do that for some of the kids and just kind of put them in groups based on what they need to work on. We added a bit of leadership training in there for our captains this past year, trying to help them develop a little bit and be better leaders. So yeah, I'm kind of in a break now for about a month, but come January, it all starts all over again.
Yeah, it seems like you got a well-oiled machine there in Medina, and now, as Josh referred, is the off season. Now you get a little bit of a break, but continually trying to develop your players. Being so young and continually getting these players to be better. What do you want them to do in the off season, and what are you going to do to get these players to keep developing? I know we talked about club teams. A lot of these players are in a lot of different clubs, and they continue to develop there and get better and better. So when the season comes, they're pretty much ready to go. But what do you like to do, and what do you like to see in the off season for some of these players to keep developing their skill set?
Yeah, with our kids, we're extremely blessed because not only do our kids play club soccer, they primarily, our varsity team, most of those kids play for Cleveland Football Club or the Internationals. and those kids play in two of the leagues at the top of the pyramids, so to speak, the Elite Clubs National League, the ECNL, and the United States Soccer National League. So they will, I want to say in March, or actually next month, I think they head down to Florida, and then in March they'll be in Vegas playing in their leagues. They'll play like 4 games each weekend against the best teams from around the country. And that's really where I think we benefit, because our kids are playing at the absolute highest level they can in the off season. They're not playing in the local games here, so they're seeing the best of the best, playing against nothing but, Division I college players in every match. So that's a huge benefit to us, because we just sheer numbers. I think this year our program had 17 of those players.
Wow.
And with our incoming freshman class, we're adding, I think we're adding another 10, but we're, we're losing 3 of them. So, we'll be up in the neighborhood of 24, 25 of those players now, which has really been the secret to, our success. And so as long as our kids continue to do that, I think we're just going to constantly be in that stage of reloading. And, unfortunately with that many players, 24, National League players, we start getting into that point where we have some really, really, really talented players that just won't get to play at Medina. And that's probably the hardest part of the job right now. Is having to tell really good players that could be all conference selections, be, major contributors and starters at other high schools, that, they can't play for us. And that's the toughest part of my job right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Ohio Scholastic Soccer Coaches Association last Monday, I believe, came out with with their honors and their all state teams. Haley Onspot named first team all state for the Division I girls, and assistant coach of the year Nicole Varney, from Medina. Talk about her contributions for the team, and where what was her biggest asset for the team this year.
Nicole, that was one thing when I started that I really wanted to, I don't want to say upgrade, but I had a very specific thing that I wanted to do, and that was start to bring in more female coaches on my staff. Preferably kids with playing background. Nicole is she's in the district. She's a teacher at one of the elementary schools, and she was the anchor on our back line back in 2009. I couldn't think anybody else better when I brought her in. And she was excited, and she's, young and enthusiastic and lots of energy. And she just has such a special relationship with all of our kids. She's been a perfect fit. This year was tough on her. My actual assistant coach, Nicole was hired as the JV coach. My assistant coach, probably 3 days before the season started, was hired away from us by Case Western Reserve. And so, that was a little bit of a shakeup to get the year started. And, we had put out, the advertisement and the word that we needed an assistant coach, and just everybody that I talked to, I didn't feel comfortable with, for one reason or another. And I sat down with Nicole and asked her if she would be willing this year to pull double duty. And, she didn't hesitate. She jumped right at it. And so she had to deal with her team, on game day, and then hang around and be a part of what we were doing. And, she did such a great job. I've actually asked her to take over the full assistant role this coming fall. She's still deciding on that. Being a young coach, she still wants to to be able to kind of hone her trade on the JV team, running our team, running practices. So I get that, totally get that as a younger coach. But she was such an asset this year. And, you know, as I told my coaching staff, any of these awards that the coaches get at the end of the year, assistant coach, coach of the year, I honestly look at it as it's a staff award. Yeah, Nicole's name's on one, mine's on another, but it's really a collective effort on all of our part. Our JVB coach, goalie coach, Ed Gambasini, he's been with me for 12 years. You know, he fits a role that's very difficult to fill. And then I also brought in another alumni, Mara Gorman. She actually scored 2 goals in the state championship in 2009. And she was a huge asset this year on a volunteer level. Just her sense of humor. And again, one of the big things with me is relationships, and Mara was able to build relationships so quickly with these kids. It was amazing. So I'm real excited about what these guys brought to the table this year. Being young and inexperienced, and just the maturity that they showed. It was a huge asset to have those guys around this year.
Yeah, I think overall it was fun to see your team continually win. And really it's great to talk to you and go behind the scenes a little bit to understand what you guys went through a little bit this season. Because sometimes, you know, you see the success and you don't know really what happens behind the scenes. But you did a great job coaching in your first year, and seamless transition there in Medina. And we look forward to seeing what you're going to do in this upcoming season.
Yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. You know, as always, I appreciate the stuff that you guys do for the high school sports, as well as Brad Borneval and John Urchek over at the Gazette. It's pretty amazing to see the coverage that all these kids get, and I know our kids appreciate it all. And you guys all do an awesome job.
Well, we appreciate that, and hopefully before the season, maybe we can get you and some players up at Z's and you know, have a little fun interviewing the players and having you up there.
Yeah, I know we got you know, our new captains this fall, Tori Lyncha and Maddie Albert. They'll be excited to do that. They're characters, so
Excellent.
That always makes it fun, doesn't it? When
yeah, exactly.
They like to talk on radio. We always say, you know, you have to talk on radio because it's not video where you can just sit there and, you know, smile and laugh. Right. You actually have to talk.
Yeah, we don't really haven't had a problem with it with Medina, with the Medina the ladies that have been brought on. They've all been solid.
Yeah, exactly.
They do a great job, man, and it seems every year we are blessed with a lot of really good kids, and you know, this, like I said a little bit ago, one of the big things that I brought to the table this year was building relationships and really getting these kids to not only like playing with each other, but truly trying to figure out the love for their teammates. And this group has bought into it. And I'm excited that, you know, I got so many kids coming back. We had an undefeated JV team. So those kids are going to be hungry and ready to roll come summer. So it's going to be a super competitive environment for us again. And like I said, man, I'm just blessed to be a part of it and have so many enthusiastic and committed players and families.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch up with you and the players as the you know, enjoy the month off. And I know you guys are going to get back after here quite quickly, and we'll certainly catch up again before the 2020 season starts.
All right, sounds good, man. You guys have a great holiday.
All right, you too,
Coach.
you
as well.
We appreciate it.
All right, that was head coach of the Medina Battling Bees ladies soccer program, Brad Wojnarowsky, the Medina County Gazette Fall Coach of the Year. along with his, as he so astutely pointed out, with it being a full staff team award. Other awards, his assistant coach of the year was Nicole Varney, and then Haley Onspa was a Division I girls all-state selection with potential to be potentially all-region and potentially all-American. As that moves on. So tremendous season by the Battling Bees this year. They in Coach Wojnarowski's first year, they get to the state semifinals.
That's incredible, really.
And this team has been so good for so long. I think people may take it for granted.
Yeah.
That and he said it very well. State finals is obviously what the goal is. It's hard to get there.
Oh yeah, and he said it himself. It's in football. I mean, you in any other sport. I mean, you got to win in basketball, and the same thing in soccer. You got to win 6-7 games, and it's not easy. I mean, you're playing a lot of good competition, and you could just have one bad game, one slip up, and that's your season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they played 6 games in the postseason, and and as Coach said, even the game they lost. Potentially, they were there. They were the better team, and sometimes those chances don't happen. It just happened to happen in the state semifinals. It didn't happen in the first round or the district final or what have you. So, but always great catching up with him.
That was a great interview because he really went kind of in depth, and he was. Frankly, he was pretty honest with some of the things, talking about interviewing assistant coaches, and he just wasn't comfortable with people until he decided to go with, their JV coach. He stayed in-house, and just to hear how things were going and just to hear that, coming in as a new coach, he had to make those tough decisions, and there's going to be future tough decisions to be made, and there was no bones about it with him. I mean, that's just how it is, and that's what having that background of playing for a long time he has, and then that 12 years of being at the school as an assistant, you develop those things, and now when it's his turn, his opportunity to make he's got to set that example. He's got to make those decisions, and he seems to be well on his way to beginning a great career as a head coach.
Yes, certainly, and it's well deserved. I mean, he's a he's been around the game for so long. I've played for him. My brother and those guys played for him. That was back in the 90s. They had there's a travel team that my brother played with him on for at least 4 or 5 years.
Well, here's a little nugget, and I think we talked about this last time. Yeah. He was my assistant. I played soccer for 2 years when I was 9 or 10 years old. Yeah. And one of the years he was my assistant coach. So, and that was, 20 years ago. So he's been around a while.
That's
sure.
That's crazy.
For sure. So he's honed his craft, and he's in a great situation, and he's certainly helping cultivate and grow Medina girls, the Medina ladies soccer program. So.
Absolutely.
Excellent interview. We'll certainly catch up with them again as the 2020 season approaches. And that was it. That was a great interview.
Great job.
Yeah, and we've kind of, we're ending one sport tonight. Tonight was our final football show of the year. Doesn't seem possible. We had a little soccer talk tonight. And then in 2 weeks, just a little side note, in 2 weeks we're going to be getting back together here at Studio J. And we're going to be talking high school hockey, kind of getting over some of the teams, some of the players, kind of getting a hockey preview because once January comes about, we're going to be in full hockey mode for the Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League. We got some things planned, things being not only shows to kind of go over the league, but we're also going to be doing some play-by-play this year, getting that locked in. So make sure you check out our website for all the details. Make sure social media we're on for that because we got a lot of good things coming up with the Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League that we're excited to be a part of.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. A lot of things going on, and glad we can all be a part of it. Visit our website, sportsontappodcast.com, for more information there. And for these interviews and podcasts, we'll archive them and have them up there as well. Go to @SOT Podcast on Twitter. We're on Facebook. If you have any questions, sportsontappodcast@gmail.com. But great job, guys. It's great to be in Studio J. Want to thank, again, Brad Wojnarowski Wojnarowsky, for talking to us about Medina Bees, Lady Bees soccer. What a program they have there. And go back and listen to the interview because it was really in-depth and great stuff there. All right, for Ed Dick, Sean Duffy, Josh Jeffy, I'm Rob Troutman saying so long for Sports on Tap. I want to thank everyone for listening. Good luck to all the teams this week in the championship games. We'll see you on the 16th. See ya. Thanks for listening to Sports on Tap. Make sure you visit our website, www.sportsontappodcast.com. We would also like to thank our partners, Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League, home of the Barron Cup. Z's Cream and Bean, make life sweet, eat ice cream at Z's. RRT Productions, we shoot, we edit, you win, specializing in sports recruiting videos for all high school athletes. And GV Artwork and Design, original and one of a kind.